Hey guys, we're here today checking out one of the most popular bikes in the shop, the Tern GSD. So the Tern GSD is what's considered a compact cargo bike. So it's a cargo bike because you can carry all sorts of stuff on the back, and it's compact because really it's not any longer than a traditional bicycle. And I find that to be really cool, and it's especially nice in places like a city and you have these kind of space constraints. The GSD was initially introduced in 2017. Since its introduction with the model called the S10, they've added to the lineup with this model, which is called the S00. So we'll check out both of them a little bit, but we'll be focusing mostly on the S00, which is this one here. And although the GSD is a compact bike, it could fit riders really small. It could also fit riders really tall. I mean, it starts from about 4'11" to up to 6'5", and that has to do with a lot of the adjustability that exists on this frame due to some of the proprietary technology that Tern uses. So one of the things they use is this dual seat post setup. So if you wanted to drop it to the lowest point, you can actually just drop these all the way down. Or if you wanted to go up actually to the highest point, you can push this up here, and then this can go all the way up to here. So, you know, if you're a rider 6'5", I mean, this could probably fit a rider taller than 6'5", but that's kind of the recommended heights there. So I'll put this back down to somewhat of a more reasonable seat height here. And the handlebars is another great adjustment. So you have what's called the andro stem, and you can lift these levers here and you can push the bars down or back up. So this one, you can adjust it for your height, but you can also adjust for your ride position. If you wanted to ride in a more sporty position, you'll put it more in this forward position like this. And beyond the adjustability, it has a lot of flexibility with just cargo carrying. Right now you see this bike with some added accessories, including this front rack. And there's a bunch of different racks available from Tern specifically. This one's called the transporter rack, and it could carry about 45 pounds. But they have some different versions as well. And then the back setup, the weight capacity of this is 200 pounds, so you can accommodate quite a bit. So when you look at the frame on the GSD, you can see that it's really unique. They use this special truss design, and it's very reinforced. So you have these tubes going in different directions, and that allows them to create a relatively small frame that can still hold a lot of weight. When you take a look at the front fork, you can see that it uses a through axle instead of a standard quick release skewer. This makes the fork and wheel setup much more structurally sound. While we're looking here, I'd like to also call out just all these attachment points. You have these 3 bosses here, another 2 here. On top of that, on the rear of the bike, there's all sorts of attachment points that you can use to add accessories and other parts onto the bike. For the tires on the bike, Tern uses the Schwalbe Supermoto X, and it's a 20-inch by 2.4-inch wide. It's a really wide tire, and it can handle all sorts of terrain. I mean, it's really made specifically for street, but it can handle some light off-road as well, especially when you run it at a little bit of a lower pressure, which I should mention, the pressure on this tire ranges from 30 to 55 PSI. And so when you run it at that lower pressure rating of 30, 35, or something like that, it's going to add to the comfort on the bike, and it will also give you some added traction as well. They also set these tires up with this really nice fenders, and you can see here we have this frame lock. Now this comes standard on the S00 model, but we can add it onto the S10 as well. It's actually a rim that you would most commonly find on like a really serious BMX bike. It's double reinforced, and they set the rim up with a through axle, and it has boost spacing, which is normally found on mountain bikes. So they're using all these different technologies and trying to create the most durable and heavy-duty bike that they can. This version is the S00, and it comes standard with the NVOLO CVT transmission. So all the gears are actually inside this hub, and it has a 380% gear range, which is really quite wide. And the great thing about this is you can shift this when you're riding or when you're stopped. which it makes it really perfect for urban environments. And for people that don't have much experience riding a bike or shifting gears, this works really well. And for the S10, we have a Shimano 10-speed Dior derailleur with the cassette. And that's more of a traditional drivetrain. So for people that want something a little bit sportier and to save a little bit of money, that's a good way to go. For the S00, we have the Bosch Performance Line CX motor, which this is a motor generally found on mountain bikes, but Tern chose it to spec it on this bike because it has the most torque out of all the motors in the Bosch lineup. It's rated at 75 Newton meters, which is quite a bit. The S10 version has the standard Performance Line motor with 63 Newton meters of torque. Just a slight difference. Both of them work well, but depending on if you have really big hills, you might want to opt for the CX version. And the Bosch system works with a technology called pedal assist. And that basically means when you pedal the bike, it provides assistance. Now you can ride it with no assistance, or you can ride it with a varied level of assistance, starting at 50% assistance at the lower level and upwards of 300% at the top level. It delivers power based on your input. So it's sensing how fast you're pedaling, how hard you're pedaling, and how fast the bike is going overall. It's taking these senses 1,000 times a second and delivering power proportionate to your input. The S00 comes standard with one Bosch PowerPack 500 watt-hour battery, and the S10 comes standard with one 400 watt-hour. But one thing that makes these bikes really unique is they're set up by default to be able to carry 2 batteries. Now you can order them that way with 2 batteries, or you could potentially take one of your own batteries and swap it in. You could charge the batteries together through this one port here, or you can take the batteries off and charge them individually. And to remove the battery, we just stick the key in right here and turn it and unlock the battery like this. And to reinsert the battery, just stick it right back in. The key doesn't need to be in. You just put it right back in place and push it down real hard. You want to hear the audible click to make sure that the battery is fully seated. To turn the system on, we have a power button right on the top here. Just hold it down for a couple of seconds. And by default, you're going to be in the off mode, meaning no assistance, riding just like a normal bike. And if we want to change to one of the power levels, we just hit the plus button. The first level of assistance is eco mode, again about 50% assistance. Second is tour, about 100%. The third level on this bike is sport mode, but it's also called e-mountain bike mode, and that gives you a varied level of assistance from tour up to turbo level, which is the top level of assistance. So you get between 100 and nearly 300%, and that's going to adjust more dynamically, whereas the other levels are a little bit more static, but it's still going to give you a proportionate level of assistance depending on how much you pedal and how hard you pedal. Now there's some other functions on the display as well. If we hold the minus button down for a second, you'll get into first the trip mode, which is just going to show you how many miles you've went on the trip. Hold it down again, you get the total or the odometer. Hold it down one more time and you get the range. Now this is the range in the respective assistance level that you're in. So if I change to a lower level of assistance, say eco for example, you show 29 miles. And that's at a 3 out of 5 bars. The one other function that exists on this display that I'd like to call out is walk assist. So if you actually tap this button down on the bottom and then you hold the plus button, that will actually activate the motor. And you can use this when you have the bike loaded up and say you're walking it up a hill or something like that, or you're walking through an area that you can't ride. It gives you the ability just to get some help from the motor through those areas. The last detail I'd like to show you on the display is the light. If we hold the plus button down for a couple of seconds, it'll turn the light on, and this will activate the lights which are powered off of the Bosch system. Now, on the Tern specifically, they have their own light, and they allow you to turn the light on and off from the headlight itself. For the brakes, Tern uses the Magura MT5s, and these are really pretty powerful brakes. They're a 2-finger lever, it's a hydraulic brake, and they use quad pistons, which Something not so common to find on like a compact bike, but again, they really overbuilt this bike and I appreciate that. So looking at this side, you'll see it has these really nice ergonomic grips. And this particular one has the NVOLO shifter, and to shift the gear, you just twist away from you to go to the lower gear and twist it towards you to go to a higher gear. It's just kind of like a volume dial, and you can really gradually adjust how you want to pedal the bike. And for the S10, you have a kind of standard mountain bike style shifter, Shimano Dior, and to shift to a lower gear, you're just going to push this lever here. Generally, you're going to want to shift while you're pedaling, and to shift to a higher gear, you just click this lever here. So another detail that I'd like to highlight on the GSD is something that's kind of becoming a signature for Tern on their electric bikes, and this ability for it to stand up on the back. And so basically, if I hold the rear brake and just pull the bike up just like this, the bike can stand up. And once the bike's standing, we can get the bars out of the way. You just pull this down here. You can flip the wheel around, and then you have this little safety lever, and then you push this way. And once the bars are in place, we have this little strap here that you can put down, and it'll keep everything steady there. So the GSD wouldn't really be what it is known to be without all these accessories, and I'd just like to call out a couple of them, but there's many more. So just to start, look here, there's these pegs which fold away here, and these are really great if you're just going to carry one passenger. You have this seat pad here, which is easily removable. You have this, pull this little guy here, and that pulls it out. And then you have these really great cargo bags. So these are the standard cargo bags. They actually come standard on the S00, but they're an option for the S10. But they have really great capacity and some little internal pockets as well. And when they're not in use, you can kind of fold them away and set them up like this. So one thing that's really important to have on a cargo bike is a kickstand that's made to accommodate the weight. So on the S00, they use this kickstand setup. On the S10, there's another, and there's a new kickstand that's actually coming out called the Atlas. So at the moment, probably the best kickstand is the kickstand that comes on the S00, but I think this new Atlas kickstand is really heavy duty and something that some might want to consider. Another really common accessory for the GSD is this, what's called the clubhouse. And it comes with these pads, this protection around for the kids, and they have their ability to put their hands here to hold on really well. And this sticks out a little bit further, so if the bike ever goes down or if it hits something, their hands are protected. As I'm showing this, I should really mention one of the most common uses for the GSD is to carry kids, and oftentimes 2 kids at that. So if you wanted to put 2 kids on, you can actually remove one of these, and you can use one of these YEP seats with this easy fit adapter. This adapter is what the GSD is really made for. So you can basically just tuck the seat in, and you just lock it in place like that and just click it along. And there you go. Well, thanks for checking out the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or just reach out, because I'm always happy to help. And I look forward to seeing you in future videos.